In the headlines, hundreds of South and North Korean families separated by the Korean War meet again. We have more on how they spent the second day of cross-border reunions as they're set to part again tomorrow. The tensions between Korea and Japan show no sign of easing as Tokyo is set to observe its so-called Takeshima Day, a day aimed at strengthening its claims on Korea-controlled Dokdo Island in the East Sea. Plus, in Sochi, the judge's impartiality is being questioned after Russia's Adlina Sotnikova snatched a figure skating gold medal from Korea's defending champion, Kim Yeon-ah. Look at whether it was a home field inflation. All this and more next on Primetime News. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's Friday, February 21st here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I am Yoo Ji-hye.
And I'm Daniel Chen. Thank you for joining us. We begin this evening with day 2 of the cross-border family reunions at the North's Mount Kumgang Resort.
The tears of joy and sorrow continued on this Friday as hundreds of South and North Korean families met for about a total of 6 hours. But for more on the highly emotional event, we are joined by our Kim Ji-yeon in the studio. Now, Ji-yeon, give us a recap of the day's events.
Well, the second day of the first round of reunions held on Friday started this morning at 9 a.m. with individual meetings between separated family members. It was a chance for the 80 or so participants accompanied by 56 family members to meet behind closed doors in individual hotel rooms that the South and North Korean families are staying in. They exchange gifts such as food and clothing and share their stories about their lives and families back home. Those meetings lasted until 11 a.m. and were followed up by 1 hour later by a group luncheon that included all the participants. And after that, the third and last event of the day was a group ceremony that ran from 4 to 6 p.m.
Now, this was a very deeply emotional moment for many of the families, and some of them, their bodies could not handle the emotions, and I believe they were unable to participate, right?
Right. During one of the sessions today, 2 South Korean participants had to head back home due to health problems. 91-year-old Kim Sung-young and 84-year-old Hong Shin-ja did get to meet individually with their loved ones from the north yesterday and today, but had to do so in ambulances this morning. Kim met his daughter and his son, and Hong, who is a retired nurse, met her younger sister, who told her ailing sibling before leaving that she was glad to have met her again and would wait her until reunification.
Now, Ji-yeon, these early departures is a reminder that the time is running out for families, mostly who are in their 80s and 90s.
Right. In fact, according to the Hyundai Research Institute, some 53% of surviving South Korean members with families in the north are older than 81, which happens to be the average lifespan of South Koreans. Of the 129,000 South Koreans who have put their names on the waiting list for reunions, 45% have already passed away, never getting the chance to speak to or embrace their separated family members. So there's a growing call to have more than just 80 or so participants per round and for reunions to be held more regularly. In response, the South Korea's rival parties have called for further reunions on Thursday. Saenuri Party's floor leader Tae Kyung-won said the Korean government needs to do more to make sure that reunions are held on a regular basis. Democratic Party floor leader Choi Myung-won says time is running out and the number of participants in the family reunions needs to be increased in the future.
Well, assuming the reunion goes without any hiccups or hitch, and of course we would love that to happen, what's next?
Well, on Sunday, a second group of around 360 South Koreans plans to arrive at the Mount Kumgang Resort to meet with 88 of their North Korean relatives. The second round will start with a group meeting at 3 in the afternoon. South Korea will then host a welcoming dinner later that night. On Monday, individual and group meetings are scheduled before all things are wrapped up on Tuesday.
All right, Ji-yeon, thank you very much for that wrap-up of day 2 of the cross-border family reunions.
Thank you for having me.
And the goodwill between the two Koreas continues. The South Korean government has given 2 private aid groups the green light to send about $1 million worth of humanitarian aid to North Korea.
Seoul's Unification Ministry made the announcement Friday and said the humanitarian shipments will be mainly composed of anti-tuberculosis drugs and baby milk powder. So far, 5 private organizations have been given permission by the government this year to send aid to the north, worth more than $1.5 million. Korea-Japan relations, which have plunged to one of their lowest points in many years, are showing no signs of improving.
This comes after top Japanese officials suggested the need to re-examine Tokyo's 1993 apology for its wartime atrocities, not to mention the country's ongoing campaign to raise awareness about its claims to Korea-controlled Dokdo Islets. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
In 1993, Japan's then Chief Cabinet Secretary Yohei Kono apologized for the tens of thousands of women that were forced into sexual slavery during World War II. But on Thursday, Tokyo's current Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said the Japanese government will re-examine the so-called Kono statement to verify the accuracy of interviews given by Korean women who said they were forced to serve as prostitutes for Japan's wartime military.
We will assemble a team of government officials and experts to re-examine the 1993 statement from an academic standpoint.
Seoul has condemned Tokyo for making moves to take back its apology and disregard its imperialistic past and historical wrongdoings. Unlike Japan, Germany has made and continues to apologize for its wartime atrocities and compensates victims to this day. In a separate issue, Korea has slammed the Japanese government's plan to hold its controversial Takashima Day ceremony on Saturday, an attempt to claim Korea's Dokdo Island as their own. Takashima is the name Japan uses for Dokdo Island. Korea's foreign ministry has also slammed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's plans to send cabinet members to the annual event. The Korean government is calling on Japan to cancel the ceremony, but Tokyo has dismissed Seoul's demand, saying the celebration does not concern other nations. Korea reclaimed sovereignty over its territory, including Dokdo and many other islands around the Korean peninsula, upon its independence from Japanese rule in 1945. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, if South Korea can expect any progress on denuclearizing North Korea, it'll need China's help. With that in mind, visiting Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Liu Zhenmin held talks with Seoul's Deputy Foreign Minister Lee Kyung-soo on the North's nuclear program, agreeing to strengthen cooperation to rid the communist state of its nuclear weapons. Liu arrived in Seoul on Thursday after a 4-day visit to North Korea, making him the first high-ranking Chinese official ever to make back-to-back trips to Pyongyang and Seoul. On Saturday, the last day of his visit, Liu is scheduled to meet with Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and Unification Minister Ryu Gil-jae.
The Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning, which is still very much in its infancy stage, having been formed just 1 year ago, handed in a progress report at the National Assembly on Friday, detailing its vision and goals. Our Kim Young-gil reports.
The minister and vice ministers of the Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning were front and center at the National Assembly on Friday, where they fielded questions from the Parliamentary Science Committee. Some of the questions centered on just what the ministry, founded at the start of the Park Geun-hye administration, does.
It has been a year since the ministry was established. However, what exactly the ministry does is unclear. I've heard there have been a lot of flaws during the working processes.
It seems the Korean people and companies do not understand the policy-making function of the new ministry. For instance, 86% of companies think the ministry is functioning to its fullest.
To give lawmakers a better understanding of the ministry's mission, Minister Choi Moon-gi laid out the various projects it's involved in.
The government has increased investment in creative economy projects that promote the integration of information technology with conventional industries such as agriculture and tourism.
The ministry said it would inject some $94 million in a total of 30 creative economy projects this year, a sharp increase from the $18 million invested last year. The projects are part of the Park Geun-hye administration's vision for a creative economy which seeks new and inventive business opportunities and more jobs by fusing information technology and other industries. Just last week, a special law went into effect that creates a new commission that will oversee policies on the information, communication, and technology sectors. The ministry said the new commission will function to improve efficiency in policymaking by seeking feedback from local firms on the challenges they face and having them reflected in the country's policies. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
It's time for a wrap-up of stories making headlines around the world.
From Obama-Dalai Lama meeting to the latest on the Ukraine unrest, our Yurian joins us live from the Arirang News Center with all the latest. Lian, fill us in.
Hi guys, I want to start with the White House announcement about an upcoming meeting between U.S. President Barack Obama and the Dalai Lama, Tibet's exiled spiritual leader, which sparked an immediate protest from China. Now, the White House says Obama is scheduled to meet with Dalai Lama at the White House on Friday amid rising concerns over the deteriorating human rights situation in the Tibetan areas. The statement did underscore, however, that the U.S. continues to recognize Tibet as part of China, with the implication there being that it's in no way looking to support Tibetan independence.
Lian, U.S. and China relations have hit a rough patch in recent months over a range of political and economic issues. Now, can we expect this meeting to further chill Sino-U.S. relations?
Almost certainly, Ji-hye. Within hours following the White House announcement, the Chinese government urged the U.S. to cancel the meeting, a warning that it will seriously harm bilateral relations. The Chinese Foreign Ministry in a statement said the meeting would be a gross interference in China's internal affairs and called it a serious violation of the norms of international relations. As you well know, the Dalai Lama has been calling for greater religious freedoms and autonomy through nonviolent means, while Beijing accuses the Dalai Lama of encouraging Tibetan independence through violence. Now over to Ukraine, where an agreement has reportedly been reached to end the ongoing political crisis after escalating violence in the past few days has left at least 75 dead. Now the deal includes constitutional reform that would balance the power of the president, government, and parliament. It also calls for a national unity government to be formed within 10 days and a presidential election before the end of the year. The deal comes after an overnight meeting with opposition leaders who have yet to confirm the agreement. Now, earlier on Friday, the European Union has decided to slap sanctions on Ukraine in response to the recent uptick in violence. Here's EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton.
And suspend export licenses for equipment for internal repression. And we've asked the relevant working bodies of the Council to make the necessary preparations immediately. That implementation will be taken forward in the light of developments in Ukraine. As ever, we continue to work.
Now, China is bracing for an intense heavy wave of smog over the next 3 days. Beijing, which has been under fire to take effective measures against pollution, cranked up its pollution alert a notch higher to orange for the first time on Friday. That's the second highest level and calls for children and the elderly to stay indoors, with some factory activities put on hold. The alert was raised after Beijing was criticized by state media last weekend for failing to act promptly against high pollution levels. That wraps up today's look at what's making headlines around the world, and I'll see you back here next week.
Well, Koreans woke up this Friday morning to a new Olympic medal, but not the one fans were expecting. In the free skating program, Russia took home a controversial gold, while Korea's own Kim Yeon-ah took the silver.
For more on the competition shrouded in controversy, we have Connie Lee joining us in the studio. And Connie, I hear even online petitions are ongoing asking for investigations on the partiality of the judges. How serious is this problem?
Right. Well, on one website called change.org, which is a petition platform, the last time I checked, there were more than 1.5 million people asking for an open investigation into the judging decisions of the figure skating event at Sochi. They're also asking for a rejudgment of how Adelina Sotnikova got the gold and Kim Yeon-ah had to settle for a silver. We also had a lot of high-profile people, including Katarina Witt, a legendary Olympic champion in figure skating, who said that it was a shame, gold medal, calling Kim Yeon-ah a real queen. Also, American Ashley Wagner, who actually finished 11th at the Free Skating Olympics, came out to say that she was frustrated with the judging at the Iceberg Skating Palace and that the scores for the Russians were inflated. Now, as you know, on Thursday, Kim Yuna had a clean, flawless performance, but her scores could not beat Russia's Sonikova, who performed to an excited home crowd.
You know, good luck to Sonikova trying to win a gold outside Russia, first and foremost. And Kim Yuna, of course, taking it like a champ. She was above it all, poised and collected even after the disappointing results.
Right after her performance in an interview, she said that she's actually proud of her clean performance and that, you know, with the results, there's nothing she can do about it. Also, she went on to say thank you to all her fans, especially the Korean fans who stayed up into the wee hours to watch her perform.
You know, my heart still aches from this Kim Yuna disappointment. I'm going to ask you to move on to other highlights.
Well, let's go to the Canadian team, the Canadian women team in curling. They actually won the gold on Thursday, and it was actually the Canadians' first gold since 1998. Since the Olympics then. And the best part about their win is probably the fact that they stopped Sweden from winning their third consecutive gold medal. Now, Canada actually went undefeated at Sochi, winning 11 straight games.
So how did Team Korea do? I hear that it was their debut at the Olympics.
Right, it was their first time in the Olympics, and although they were eliminated in the beginning before reaching the medal rounds, there are high expectations for them to do well in Pyeongchang. So we'll have to wait and see until then.
Okay, now, Connie, it's time for medal standings. Let's have the updates.
Well, Korea does remain at 15th. Actually, they went up one spot from yesterday. And Norway remains in the top with 10 gold medals. Now, at number 2, it's Canada with 8 gold medals. And Germany, the USA actually is in 3rd. And Germany and Russia also remain in the top 5. But we still have a few more days left, and Korea does have a little more chance of getting more medals. Now, speed skating finals will take place over the weekend, and one athlete who could possibly bring Korea another gold is this woman right here, Shim Seok-hee. Now, this lady, she is 17 years old, and she'll be competing in the ladies' 1,000-meter quarterfinals around 2 a.m. Korea time, or about 4 hours from now. And hopefully, she'll qualify for the finals. Now, she's already a gold medalist from Sochi, grabbing the medal at the ladies' relay race earlier this week. You guys remember that race?
Of course we do.
Look, honey, while we are nearing the end of the Sochi Games, the spotlight is actually shifting to Pyeongchang, of course, the next host city, Korea, that is. I'm sure we can definitely take some lessons from this year's ups and downs from Winter Games hosted by Sochi.
That's absolutely right. And we actually had our Song Ji-sun in Sochi who met with Pyeongchang's organizing committee. And let's hear what she has to say.
For the over 200 personnel dispatched to Sochi from Pyeongchang, nothing is too big or too small to go unchecked or unobserved. The pressure is on, as in less than 4 years' time, the eyes of the world will be focused on whether Pyeongchang is ready to take up the mantle as an Olympic host city. As the next in line, how would the chief organizer of Pyeongchang 2018 rate the way the Sochi Games have been run?
Overall, we believe it was a successful Olympic Games. Sochi 2014 had all the big venues in one place at the Olympic Park. The weather and the volunteers were also very pleasant. Pyeongchang is more compact due to the fact that all our clusters are within 30 minutes of each other. But after studying the way it is organized here, we want to reinforce the efficiency of our venues.
With the curtain drawing down on Sochi, the world will watch as the Olympic flag is passed to the Korean delegation during Sunday's closing ceremony. The ceremony is expected to culminate with a grand performance of Korean dance and various mixes of Korea's traditional song, Arirang.
Korea is relatively less well known than many other countries around the world, so we want to incorporate that mysterious Oriental side when introducing Pyeongchang. And as Pyeongchang 2018 marks the 30th anniversary of this whole Summer Olympics in 1988, we want to portray Korea, now a developed country, from a country that was catching up with others 3 decades ago.
Kim adds it is crucially important Korea does more than just host the Games. He say the nation's athletes need to win medals.
Aside from everything else, what really counts is how well the host country's athletes do. Russia has succeeded in that up until now. And I want to stress that Korea must work together to boost our chances. I've seen the potential we have, not just in skating, but in winter sliding events and freestyle skiing. I'm sure Korean athletes can make Pyeongchang their stage in 4 years' time.
송지선, Arirang News, Sochi.
Now, after 16 days of the Winter Games at Sochi, it'll all come to an end this Sunday on February 23rd. Now, the closing ceremony will be at 8 p.m. Russian time and 1 a.m. here in Korea. And you know, we have a number of Korean singers who will be participating in this closing ceremony, including famed soprano singer Cho Soo-mi and also Lee Seung-chul, who is a favorite K-pop star.
All right, and then the Olympic torch will be passed on to Korea's Pyeongchang, am I right?
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, Connie, for that update. And shifting our attention now to other sports, let's kickstart with golf and the PGA.
The world's best pro golfers are in the U.S. vying for a $1.5 million grand prize and bragging rights, of course. Our Stephen Choi joins us with the latest results. Hello there, Stephen.
Hey guys, the WGC-Accenture Match Play Championship continues on at Dove Mountain in the U.S. state of Arizona. And entering day 3, the field has whittled down by half. Of the 64 that started, only 32 remain heading into the Sweet 16, of which none of the top seeds are included. Rory McIlroy, tagged as the favorite prior to the tournament, was slashed from the bracket, as well as the other 2 remaining first seeds, Henrik Stenson and Justin Rose. Now, the doors open for last year's winner, Matt Kuchar, or even the hot-handed Rickie Fowler to win, as play continues on until Sunday. And heading to ladies golf, Pagin B is not concerned about being ranked number 1. Rather, she's eyeing a grander achievement. The top-ranked Pak said that winning the Women's British Open in July to complete her career Grand Slam is her top goal. Currently at the Honda LPGA Thailand, her first start of the season, she's inched up to 11th place at 2 under par. Meanwhile, Anna Nordqvist remains the leader at 7 under after round 2. And moving on to the NBA, 2 of the league's best teams, the Miami Heat and the Oklahoma City Thunder, faced off in the much-anticipated second meeting of the season between the league's best 2 players. And on trade deadline day, LeBron James and his Heat outplayed Kevin Durant and the Thunder on the road 103-81 to even up the series for the year. Now, both are early candidates for MVP, but it was King James who showed on this day that he wouldn't be giving up his crown so easily. Now let's get to Friday's KBL highlights. In the first of a doubleheader, LG beats KGC 80-74. But now it's time for the game of the night between the Goyang Orions and the KT Sonic Boom. Now both teams press in the first half, but it's KT with a 3-point edge to end it. Now we fast forward to late in the 4th. The Orions push to tie it up, but it's Cho Sung-min and KT that close it out 69-64. And that does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Choi. I'll be back with the latest Olympics updates and more after midnight, so I'll see you then.
Well, this was a spring-like warm winter day today here in Seoul, and the weekend hopefully holds more of the same in store.
Yes, for more, let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Bo-kyung, good evening.
TGIF, guys, it seems like we're getting closer to spring by the day. Now, with daytime highs reaching at around 8 to 9 degrees, this weekend looks to be great for outdoor activities. What's even better is that next week, Seoul is forecast to start off the day above 0 degrees. Now, this is more like mid-March weather here in Korea. And currently, the nation is under the influence of a high-pressure system from the West Sea, which is why we're seeing clear skies across the map, and tomorrow looks to be just as clear as today. This morning, some parts of the eastern region saw 2 times the normal levels of fine dust, but readings are now back to normal. However, there is a high possibility that the unwanted visitor from China may come back tomorrow afternoon. Other than that, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow may fall on Dokdo. Taking a look at tomorrow's readings, Seoul will makes it to 8 degrees while cities down south reach the low teens. Moving on to other regions, Daejeon and Jeju peak at 9 degrees while Dokdo tops out at 3. Well, hope you have a wonderful Friday night, and I'll be back with more updates after midnight.
And that's our broadcast on this Friday night. I'm Yoo Ji-hye in Seoul.
And I'm Daniel Che. Thank you for watching. We'll leave you with some highlights of Kim Yeon-na, because they say hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. But for Kim Yeon-na, she is talented and she works harder than anyone. Thank you for watching.